so defense ministers, they just had a big meeting.
If I can ask you to look straight ahead,
and of course,
for 8 seconds.
And pictures. So we had all this going on. NATO Defence Ministers just wrapped up 2 days of meeting, and they were in Brussels. Okay, so that just happened this week. The alliance's defense plans and operations and meeting with the Israeli counterpart.
Thank you very much.
So Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, he briefed his NATO counterparts about what's going on there, and now Iran has their troops along the border, putting them around Syria border. There's lots going on. So the defense minister, American defense minister, I like the guy. He speaks clear, concise. He doesn't seem like a politician at all, and he's huge. He's a big guy too. You know what I mean? For American, I like the guy. 31 years in the service. So, well, they do a bunch. They're going to do some questions and stuff. And, well, we all know what's going on in the world. So let's all right, a little bit of his background. Lloyd Austin, James Austin III. He's a retired 4-star general. You know, he's the United States Secretary of Defense, right? We call him ministers. He's secretary in the States. And, you know, he's born from Mobile, Alabama. I think Mobile. And he has like a really long military career. General of U.S. forces in Iraq. Army Vice Chief of Staff. He went from West Point in 75. 70 years old. Mobile, Alabama. Yeah, he was born. So this is what's happening.
But, Secretary General, what kind of contacts, more concrete, does NATO have with Finland and Estonia regarding this pipeline issue, more concrete, and anything new regarding the Swedish membership?
Well, the contact is that we have contact on the highest political level. I spoke with the President and the Prime Minister yesterday. We have our military authorities working closely together, sharing information. Of course, Estonia and Finland are NATO allies. They are present here at the NATO headquarters with military experts. We share information, and we have, of course, different platforms of also sharing classified information. That's exactly what we are doing. It's too early to determine exactly what caused the damage of these the pipeline and the cable. There are ongoing investigations, and until they are finalized, I think it's a bit too early to tell. But if it is proven that this is a deliberate attack on allies' critical undersea infrastructure, this would be a very serious incident, and it will be met by a united and determined response from NATO. But it remains to determine what caused the damage, and therefore I think it's a bit too early to say exactly how NATO will respond. It depends on what the investigation will reveal. But we share information constantly at different levels, the technical level, the political level, with two NATO allies, Estonia and Finland.
Yeah, so in case you've been watching the news and didn't hear it, there's a pipeline, and there's people that are saying that there was a Russian ship there, a media organization. It was from Finland, the pipeline, Finland to Estonia, and it, burst, and they think it was done intentionally, and they're investigating it. So this is really bad news as what's happening down south.
I'm in regular contact with the Turkish authorities. I met with President Erdogan recently in New York. I spoke with the Turkish foreign minister a few days ago. And my message is, of course, that we have an agreement in Vilnius where Turkey said clearly that they are ready to ratify, that the papers for ratification will be transmitted to the Grand National Assembly, and that the President will work with the Grand National Assembly, the Parliament, to ensure ratification. And it was stated clearly that that should happen as soon as possible, meaning that when the Assembly, the Parliament again convened, then this process should start to take place. Now the Parliament has just convened a few days ago, and therefore I expect this to happen.
Just one or two more. We'll go to Espresso TV Ukraine, row 2.
Ukraine Secretary General, I have two questions. The first one is last week Admiral Rob Bauer said that NATO's stockpiles are running low, and without replenishing them it might be quite difficult to send more weapons to Ukraine. And how critical can this be? And my second question is
capacity. We need the contracts that go along with that to be able to produce the ammunition, to get the additional production lines open, et cetera, et cetera. We have not produced one additional round of ammunition in this country since February of 22. So yes, this is something that greatly concerns me.
Russia has started to actively blackmailing the civilized world with nuclear weapons again, and Putin has even hinted that he might withdraw Russia from the nuclear test ban treaty. Is it just blackmailing again, or maybe he can use actually nuclear weapons if the war in Russian aggressive war in Ukraine fails? Is there any information from the intelligence agencies about this?
So first, on ammunition, this is an issue we have put very high on the NATO agenda for many months, because when last summer we saw that this was more and more now turning into a war of attrition, we realized that, of course, we were not able in the long run to only dig into our own stocks to provide support to Ukraine, because then our own stocks were going to run too low. So in the beginning we could move ammunition from stocks to Ukraine. Since last summer, since last fall, it has been obvious that we need also to engage with the industry to ramp up production. And since then we have worked here at NATO with our existing structures, the different platforms we have to engage with the industry, but also based on NATO's capability targets, they have been revised upwards to ensure that allies are now producing more. Sometimes it takes time to ramp up production, but allies are now ramping up production. More and more contracts are signed. We have something we call framework contracts for 2.4 billion euros for ammunition, out of which 1 billion are firm contracts, and it was an issue also today. They need to ramp up production, and allies are increasing production, both to replenish our own stocks, but also to be able to continue to provide Ukraine with support. So this is extremely important. I welcome that allies are doing more, and I urge them to sign more and more contracts, but because there's this signing of contracts that can enable the industry to produce more and also to make investments in increased production capacity. So rest assured, and it was also an issue I discussed with President Zelensky when I visited Kiev, also to have joint efforts by NATO allies and Ukraine to produce more also inside Ukraine, to ramp up production also in Ukraine.
So in this avenue, Canada's also can't go behind. As just stated, they haven't made any new rounds. There's no contracts being settled. It's a complete mess. The procurement of arms and everything in Canada, because they have other priorities, is really what it is. And I know I sound like a broken record, cutting $1 billion from the budget right now. It's just really not the time. So here he carries on.
Ministers, if I can ask you to look straight ahead.
Then Russia's nuclear rhetoric throughout this conflict has been and continues to be reckless and dangerous. Russia must know that nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Of course, we continue to watch what Russia is doing very closely. So far, we haven't seen any changes in their nuclear posture that require any changes in our nuclear posture. But of course, Russia's announcement on revoking ratification of the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty demonstrates Russia's lack of respect and the continued disregard for its international commitments, and this reckless endangers the global norms against nuclear explosive testing. NATO allies have upheld this norm against nuclear testing for over 25 years, and we have no plans to start testing again. Putin is trying to use nuclear blackmail to intimidate and coerce. He tries to use this nuclear rhetoric to prevent NATO allies from supporting Ukraine, but he will not succeed. Because again, it is in our security interest that Ukraine prevails. So we will continue to support Ukraine and will not allow President Putin to blackmail NATO allies through his nuclear rhetoric.
Last question to Romanian Radio here.
Admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
You know, as I've been saying, things are really heating up. This new investigation with the Finland pipelines is a real big news with Estonia and Finland. That would be considered attack as its infrastructure. And then what's happening down in the south is scaring the crap out of most people, because Hezbollah and now Iran is amassing by the northern border. And they just heard like an hour ago that there's the increasing fire between back and forth. So it looks like it's going to go the way that everyone thinks it will, down south. It's going to go south, down south. And let's pray for the best. And he asked the question, the last one from Romania, it's pretty good. The Americans are sending in a second fleet. You know, that's 2 major aircraft carriers in there. This is really unprecedented. Okay, well, let's hear the last question from Romania.
Bogdanin Sopescu, Radio Romania. This is the first meeting after the drone incidents in Romania. The Romanians in the area are afraid for their lives. I'm not asking just for a message for them, but some details, extra details about measures, NATO measures in the area against, I don't know, drones or some.
Well, NATO has, since the beginning of this war, increased its presence in the Black Sea region, including in Romania. I remember actually before the full-scale invasion, I went to Romania, and we have started already then to increase our presence with NATO troops, with different capabilities. And of course, since the full-scale invasion, we further stepped up our presence with planes, with surveillance drones, but also with ground forces, and after the incident with the drone, or the debris from the drone near Danube, we further increased our air policing with more planes in the NATO air policing mission in Romania to help to detect, to help to monitor. So far, we have no proof that the drones that landed, or the debris, or the parts of the drones that have landed in Romania, are a result of an intentional attack on Romania. The indications and information we have indicates that these are results of attacks that were targeted on Ukrainian targets, but then ended up in Romania, because they are targeting, as you know, infrastructure, grain infrastructure in the Danube region, very close to the border of Romania. But rest assured, we have capabilities, different types of capabilities, to closely monitor and also to help protect all NATO allies, including Romania. And we are constantly assessing the need to strengthen our presence, as we have already done in the Black Sea region, including in Romania, also after the drone incident.
That's all we have time for. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have to take off the safety. Hit.
Everywhere in the world is heating up. The Middle East is getting hot again. It was just quiet. Africa is just on 14 coups. It's been quiet in Asia, but no one expects that to last much longer.